Kieran here, standing in for Tom, Devo1099, as you all know him by. Tom's actually moved house this weekend, so his internet's down. So I'm going to be covering what he normally does for us this time of the week, and I'll take us through all the fixtures. Coming off a disappointing round of Champions League games for the English teams, we're back to the nitty-gritty of the Premier League. What I'm going to do is, because Tom likes to use his stats, so I'm going to try and throw some of them in, and I do use stats as well, but I try and use a little bit of gut in some of my picks as well, so it'll be a combination of the two, so hopefully you'll get what you need from it. And I'll be using those stats courtesy of Martin, or Wildcow77, his Twitter handle, who's just on board with backers, been doing some brilliant articles for us. Yep, so I'll use Martin's data, as it were, and I'll combine it with my feel on how some of the games are going to go. So we'll do them in chronological order, starting with the biggie, Chelsea Arsenal. Let's see what Martin has to say. So Chelsea, majority of possession in their games at around 54.7%, 15.4 shots a game. That places them in fourth. However, we all know they've got huge issues at the back. They conceded 12 goals, which is the worst in the league, 78 shots, 108 crosses, with 64 of those crosses from the right-hand side. And Ivanovic has been taking the heat for those. Just a quick look at Arsenal. Good attacking stats, 65.6% possession, 22 shots on target, 87% pass completion. They're only giving up 8 shots a game with 3 goals conceded. So the data, points pretty strongly at Arsenal. But we'll have a little chat about some of the other issues. Firstly, more in Chelsea's favour, I guess, there's some other serious stats Arsenal need to overcome if they want to win this one. I think Chelsea are unbeaten in their last 7 Premier League games anyway, against Arsenal, of which they've won 4. Yeah, I think the Community Shield was Arsenal's first win in their 14th attempt in all competitions against Chelsea. Having said, also Chelsea have kept 5 clean sheets in their last 7 games against Arsenal, including the last 4 in a row. So that's just to balance the data out, I guess. We all know it's a fixture that Wenger has found pretty impossible to get the better of Mourinho in. And they're coming off different results in midweek, with Chelsea with a confidence booster that they needed against Maccabi Tel Aviv, and Arsenal. Well, I don't know how they lost that game in Zagreb, but they did in a typically Arsenal kind of way, I guess. Wenger's been getting abuse for resting the likes of Bellerin and Cech, who should come back in. But I guess the crux of this game will be about how well Chelsea defend. If they can get back to the Chelsea of last season, you've got to figure they'll win. But if it's the defence we've seen this season, and there was times even against Maccabi that they look vulnerable, then Arsenal have got a shot here. So how do I think they'll line up? Chelsea, it's hard to see Azpilicueta not starting at left back, mainly to counteract Arsenal's threat on the right, whether that be Walcott, Oxlade-Chamberlain out there. Rahman had a good debut in midweek, but he did get exposed a couple of times. I'd be amazed if Mourinho sticks to that formation for this one. I think Azpi will go back to the left. The question then is who's going to be right back? And I've heard a few Chelsea fans discussing in the various radio phone-ins this week that they think that Mourinho may well go with Zuma at fullback, at right back, with Cahill and Terry starting in the middle. I think whilst it's obvious that Ivanovic hasn't had the best of starts to the season, but I think it's not as straightforward as that. He's not had the protection in front of him. If you look at those guys, Pedro, it just doesn't get through the defensive shift that all Mourinho teams seem to need. And when he signed Pedro, I said that he's got a bit of a quandary to sort here. He's got Fabregas, potentially Hazard, and Pedro in the same midfield. It's no wonder that the defence has been got up more, and it's just unbalanced for a Mourinho team. So tomorrow, whoever plays at right back, the Pedro injury, although he may or may not be fit, but it could work in Mourinho's favour because he might be able to use it as an excuse to play Ramirez ahead of the right back. And yeah, I just think that's a quandary that Mourinho has to sort. And I dare say that in a week, tomorrow, 2 weeks, a month, whenever Chelsea do get back to the form they were in last season, I doubt his midfield will contain Pedro, Hazard and Fabregas. It's just not the way he sets his teams up. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out. In terms of the result, the data points to Arsenal. A lot of people are going for Arsenal. I'm going to go for a narrow Chelsea win. It's a little bit of gut feel, but mainly because that's what Mourinho does to Wenger. However, if they don't get the win, and Mourinho does lose to Wenger after everything he said about him over the years, the spotlight's going to be on him more than ever. So it's a crunch game. If City beat West Ham, Chelsea lose this one, 14 points. I know we're not out of September, but they ain't coming back from that. The only other thing to add for this one is don't blink or you'll miss the handshake. Okay, we'll move on. Villa West Brom. Let's see what we've got here. Villa. Middling stats. 11 shots on goal. 12.8 conceded. Average per game. Possession dead even at 50.1%. West Brom. Well, we know they've really struggled to find the net. They've only scored 3 times. 2 of those were against 10-man Chelsea. And they're only getting 10 shots a game whilst conceding 15. Well, that doesn't read too well. It's a difficult one to call, this one. Villa had looked defensively solid until last week, and they started well against Leicester, and then all of a sudden they've let in 3. They've looked particularly vulnerable at set pieces. I don't know. It's a tough one. Sinclair and Grealish. The return of Grealish is undoubtedly a bonus for them. Sinclair started, he obviously got the League Cup hat-trick, and he's shown flashes of being able to produce. His form from his time at Swansea. The problem with Villa is up front. I mean, they've not really replaced Benteke. Bonlahor doesn't seem to be cutting it. I don't know whether Gestede will get his chance tomorrow. But they're really struggling to score goals. I think they're going to come across a tight West Bromwich defence. They've kept 4 clean sheets, I think, in their last 6 Premier League games away from home. I think they've won 3 of those. The question mark for West Brom, I guess, is around Berahino. Does he start? He would seem to have the tools to rattle Lescott and Richards. They're not the most mobile. But looking at some more stats, Ricky Lambert, I think he scored 4 goals in 6 top-flight appearances against Villa. So it's a tricky one to call. Recent history between the two, I think Villa have won 2 of the last 3. They've only lost 1 of 7, so they might have some kind of hoodoo over them. It's going to be close. You're looking at a 1-1 draw, or maybe Villa nicking it by the odd goal, depending on whether Sherwood goes with Gestede, or if he goes without Bonlahor, I fancy West Brom to maybe nick a point. but it's going to be tight. Moving on, Bournemouth, Sunderland. Let's have a look at some numbers for you. Well, two of the worst defensive teams in the league. They've conceded 9 and 11, so this one could have plenty of goals. Bournemouth's keeper Boric, his saves to shots ratio is under 1. That's not the best. Sunderland have conceded 118 crosses, 78 chances, so they're pretty much under constant pressure. And whereas last year they had Pantilimon, who was a ratio of saves to goals was amazing. I think it was 3 or 4 to 1. This year it's 2 to 1, so they're under pressure there. I think they've met 6 times before in all competitions. Bournemouth have never beaten Sunderland in their history. But then again, Sunderland, I think, are on a 8-match winless streak in the Prem, for which they've lost 4. This game should have goals in it. Bournemouth have created chances. Players to look out for. Francis from fullback. He'll be a popular pick tomorrow. 21 crosses. I think he's created 9 chances, a couple of assists. The one disappointment for Bournemouth, I guess, would be Ritchie. I know Tom's losing patience with him. He may get a chance tomorrow. If he doesn't deliver tomorrow, he may well be out. I mean, a lot of punters were looking for him to be leading their numbers this season, and he's just not delivered. For Sunderland, Defoe, I think he scored against 34 different teams in the Prem. This could be 35. Lens, he's done all right for them last week. 8 crosses, 8 touches in the area, I think. 4 shots on goal against Spurs. This one's sticker pinning again. The Prem hasn't really settled down. A lot of these, you can make a case. We're trying to guide you here, but you can make a case for most results in most games. It's been really up and down, and this one's no different. It's sticker pinning. For me, if you're forcing me to come off the fence, Bournemouth by the odd goal, because they're at home. They're more of a threat going forward. If it was in the northeast, I'd probably pick Sunderland. But home advantage calls a Bournemouth win for me. Next, we've got Newcastle and Watford. What have we got? Yeah, well, Newcastle, they're not a scoring threat. 7 shots a game, only 2 on target, with 43% possession, and they're conceding 18 shots a game. Krul's the man who's kept it relatively respectable for them. For Watford, they've only scored 3 goals, but they've only conceded 4. So it tells you everything about the sort of game that they're playing. I think they scored 2 of those on the opening day at Goodison Park. So, with Newcastle's problems up front, Watford's problems scoring goals, this one's probably going to be 6-6. It's going to be another close one. Newcastle, I think they've only lost 1 of their last 16 against Watford. They've won 9. Players that might stand out in this one. Janmat. I ain't telling you anything you don't already know. He was their most attacking player against West Ham. He was their only threat. I think he had 5 shots, a few crosses. So he's going to be another popular play tomorrow at fullback. For Watford, Deeney's yet to get off the mark. I think we mentioned in our backers preview of the season that Igalo, his partner, could sneak in under the radar. And whilst Watford aren't scoring a lot of goals, he's got the majority of them. I think he scored 18 in his last 23 appearances. Look, this is sticker pinning again. I'm going to go with Newcastle because they're going to have to respond to Monday night, and in front of the crowd that'll be driving them on. It's one of those games, though, the longer it goes on, if Newcastle don't score, that crowd can turn, and the way Watford play, a set piece, a counter attack, they could easily nick it. But just a bit of gut feel, I'll take Newcastle to nudge a close one. Stoke against Leicester. What have we got? Stoke, 9 shots, 9.8 shots a game, 47% possession. No wonder they're struggling. Leicester. Yeah, they're surpassing expectations. They're in the middle in terms of shots, 13.4, and their possession isn't very good, and their pass accuracy isn't very good, but they've managed to score 11 goals. So that tells you about everything about their conversion rate. But it also tells you that they're due a slip up, and it wouldn't surprise me if this is the game. They've only met twice in the Prem, both ending in wins for the away team. Jack Buckland's having a great season. I think he's leading safe so far in the Prem. He could be a nice play tomorrow. And I just fancy Stoke in this one, particularly if they can keep 11 players on the pitch. And the other reason is at some point, are we going to see Bojan and Shaqiri on the pitch together? And that's potentially mouth-watering. It would be unjust in this preview not to mention Mahrez. We pondered the question: would the Tinkerman be, the right sort of manager? A different approach to Pearson. Could he get the best out of Mahrez? And undoubtedly he has, and you've got to give him credit. Along with a couple of lads from Swansea, Ayew and Gomez, and potentially Silva. Barkley, potentially the standout players in the Prem so far. I've missed someone, I know I have, and he'll come back to me. But Mahrez, he's been involved in 6 goals, I think, 4 directly scored, 2 assists. Brilliant dribbling stats. He's been brilliant. Has he got enough to win this game on his own? Potentially. But as I said, I'm going to go for Stoke to nick this one. They have got a doubt up front, though, with Diouf, so I'm not sure how they might line up. But, this Stoke run isn't going to continue. It's another vociferous crowd. I just fancy Stoke to nick it. Moving on, we're looking at Swansea and Everton. So, these are 2 teams that are, they're trying to make the next step up. They're looking to establish themselves as top 6 Premier League sides. Both had good starts to the season. Swansea, over 50% possession, 14.6 shots a game. They're only conceding 10. That tells you everything. Everton's not so much. They've had fewer shots on goal, 10.4 a game, but giving up 15. Stats can sometimes be misleading. Everton have had to contend with City and Chelsea, even though they beat Chelsea 3-1. They've been away to Southampton. I suppose Swansea have been away to Chelsea. But Everton haven't had the easiest of fixtures to start the season. In terms of the head-to-head, Swansea have only won 1 of 23 meetings. I think they've lost 3 or 4 of those games at the Liberty. And of course, Martinez is returning to his former club. Everton concede. If there's a light at the end of the tunnel for this one, Everton concede a lot of crosses. And if Montero is fit, you would expect that he would play. I think Everton concede more crosses than any other team in the league. So Ayew and Gomez come into play here, along with Montero. Coleman could be fit. I'm not necessarily sure that will potentially stop the crosses. He likes to get forward, but that'll be a good battle. Everton are yet to lose one on their travels. It's another cagey affair. I mean, Swansea are probably going to control possession. Everton will hope to hit on the counter. It'll be interesting to see if Naismith gets the start after his heroics last week. The one player who definitely will is Ross Barkley. He's had a fantastic start to the season. Martin, our stats man, big Everton fan, he's predicting 1-1. I'm probably going to agree with him on this. Close, but probably a draw. Next up, Saturday evening game. We've got City, league leaders, against West Ham. I've got to declare an interest here. Big City fan. Hence the grey hair. So the news, the press conference news coming in, City are going to be missing company, so Otamendi is going to come in. Aguero's fit, but Nasri's out, which means that chances are we are going to see Silva, Sterling and De Bruyne behind Aguero. Although knowing Pellegrini, it wouldn't surprise me if he threw Navas in, just to keep everyone on their toes. But, you know, in a blue, I want to see Silva, Sterling and De Bruyne behind Aguero. Before I go into some predictions, let's have a look. What can I tell you about City? I mean, you've not conceded a goal. Scoring goals for fun. West Ham, they have 3.4 more shots a game than they concede 3.4 shots a game more than they take, and only having 47% possession. Well, that's going to go down tomorrow, and the first stat is going to get even worse as well. It's just a case of whether they can, if they can nick it. I knew there was a player I'd missed, and of course he's playing in this game, and it's Dimitri Payet. What a start to the season he's had. Before we touch on him, in terms of the head-to-head, West Ham, they've only won 1 of 12 with City. I think they've only scored 2 in the last 5 league games. So yeah, if they want to grab anything, they're going to have to. Payet's going to have to consider. Well, he's going to have to do more than just his early season form. Yeah, they've won at Liverpool, they've won at Arsenal, so there's no doubt that West Ham are capable of going to City, setting up defensively, playing on the counter, especially now with Moses as well and Lanzini. You know, they're an attacking 3 in behind Saka, who despite, you know, West Ham's good start, he's not really delivered for them up front. So, look, you know, I'm going to pick City. I have a feel if Bilic sets them up in the attacking way that I've seen them so far this season, then Noble and Koyate are just going to have too much ground to cover in midfield. It could work against them. There is, you know, grounds for optimism. No company, Otamendi and Mangala. Who knows what that's going to look like? A popular player tomorrow is going to be Kolarov. Clichy's still injured. Kolarov's going to be playing. You know, even if West Ham are to nick a point, you know, or even a win, you know that City are going to be doing most of the attacking. There's going to be crosses coming in. You wouldn't fancy West Ham to get maybe, you know, nick a goal maybe. Well, they could get 2. But, you know, sides with points for 1 goal against are going to reward Kolarov. Sanya's had a really good start to the season as well. He doesn't have the offensive stats that Kolarov have, but he's winning City fans over. Zabaleta's due back quite soon, but City fans are happy with Sanya at the moment. Another potentially good play tomorrow could be Sterling. Not just because, you know, he's going to be an attacking player in what could be an exciting game, but at some point Pellegrini is going to want to look at Sterling through the middle. Aguero isn't going to get 90 minutes. I doubt it. He knows what Boney can do. It wouldn't surprise me if at some point tomorrow that he runs Sterling through the middle. The goal he's got this season was in early in the second half against Watford when he just he nipped in behind through that middle roll. So it wouldn't surprise me if Sterling gets 20-25 minutes, especially if City are ahead. Obviously, if the game's tight and everything's up for grabs, he's less likely to experiment, and he'll probably go with the safe option in Boney. So I fancy City to win this. If with company not starting, I don't fancy them as strongly as I did. West Ham are a good side. They can certainly threaten City, but you just figure they're going to have too much. Sorry, all you Hammers. What else could I say? We're moving on to Sunday. I think we've got 3 games left. Palace go White Hart Lane. This could be a good game, actually. Spurs are fourth in the league on shots and shots on target, but they've only scored 4 goals. So that tells you everything about their conversion rate. Palace, yeah, what a brilliant start they've had. I mean, it's their away form. They've won 5 of their last 6 away matches. They've given up goals. McCarthy's, 24 saves, which is quite high. He's keeping Speroni on the bench. But they're getting a lot of crosses, create chances. It's going to be a great game. I think Spurs have drawn 3 of their last 5. They've been under 2.5 goals in 6 of their last 7 games. And with 4 of the last 5 meetings between the teams has got under 2.5 goals. So you'd expect that trend to continue here. Players, well, who knows? I mean, Eriksen could be out again. If we're looking at Spurs, the big question mark for Spurs is what is going on with Harry Kane, obviously. Son came in the Europa League, notched a couple. Will he go 4-4-2? Kane, I think, is 1 goal in 10, 11 in the league, something like that, because he ended last season poorly. There's a lot of critics are saying he's a 1-season wonder. I'm not sure. I think he'll come good. I think it's about the system for Spurs, especially tomorrow, how they set up. As I say, is he going to pair Kane and Son together? Does Lamela retain his place? I think we've seen enough of Lamela. From Palace's point of view, can they retain the form that they showed before the City match? I mean, obviously, Sacco was on had some amazing stats, 8 shots, something like that. Was getting points for fun. Punchin, Zaha, Balassi, who are they going to play up front? So they can definitely hurt Spurs. The under 3 goals a game stat, I think, is the key driver here for me. I can probably see something similar. So I'm taking a low-scoring draw or one of the teams to nick it. If I'm pushed, 1 each, unless if Kane finds his form, Tottenham to win it 2-1. There you go. 2 games left. Liverpool, Norwich. Keep reaching for my paper. Liverpool. All right, they're in the middle of the pack. Shots for and against. Possession, middle, but they've only managed 3 goals. Norwich, 73 shots on goal. That's 6th highest in the league. That's an interesting stat. Yeah, they've not started badly. Houlihan's obviously been doing really well for them. The head-to-head is all Liverpool's favour. I mean, over the years, I think every time Suarez played against them, he got a hat-trick. That's what it seems like. They're 10 matches unbeaten. They've won 9 of them against Norwich. No side has scored more goals against Norwich than Liverpool. They've got Coutinho returning. But, that was a woeful performance at United, especially in such an important game for their fans. So they're going to need that boost that Coutinho will give them and the crowd. Sturridge could be back as well. There'll be a bit of a Diego Costa effect from last season. We're not going to know whether he's going to play each week. So it's impossible to pick him. But he's in the fringes of a return. Norwich, from their point of view, Ruddy, they'll need him to improve his saves to goal ratio, which I think is 1 goal for every 2 saves. But they're going to offer a threat, particularly down the left-hand side. Brady and Jarvis, that battle with Klein is going to be key in deciding the momentum of this game. Brady and Jarvis getting lots of crosses. They can hurt Liverpool. I'm going to say Liverpool are going to have enough, though. It's a game they have to win. They're going to have to react to the performance against United. The midweek game shouldn't have taken too much out of them. Wasn't much travel. They made a lot of changes. Coutinho's back. Yeah, I'm going to go for Liverpool. Could be quite comfortable if they get a good start. Could be talking 2 or 3. I said with the Newcastle game, the longer it goes without them scoring, it could get twitchy, and Norwich do have the tools to hurt them. Finally, then on to Monday night. Sunday. This is the final Sunday game, 4:00 kickoff. Southampton against United. Southampton 16.6 shots a game, over 50% possession. They're only giving up 9.2 shots a game. That's very similar last season's stats for them. Without the same return of points, I think it would be fair to say so far. They've got 83 shots, which is up there. I think it's top. It's the usual Pele situation, which we'll talk about a little bit more. United have been the best team at preventing shots and crosses. They've only given up 39 and 64 respectively. In terms of the heads-to-heads, I think United have won 9 and drawn 2 of the last 12, so that favours them. But they've not kept a clean sheet in any of their last 7 games against Southampton. And Southampton have won 5 of their last 7 matches in the Prem at home. The problem's Pele tomorrow, or the problem's up front for Southampton. He's hit and miss, and him and Tadic have kind of started the season very similar to how they did last year, but then they faded, and you just know you're not going to get the consistency with Pele. The one thing that might work in their favour on Sunday, obviously, is the horrific injury to Luke Shaw. It's going to force a reshuffle at the back for United. Rojo might come back in, forcing Glyn to left back. We saw their problems with that situation last year, especially at Goodison Park. Sadio Mane will be back in. He was from the bench last week after travel from the internationals. If the rumours were true about him joining United in the summer, he's going to have a point to prove. Looking at United, Rooney's back. Does he lead the line? I'd say, based on what we've seen this season, it's unlikely. He's in the Kane run of form at the moment. We'll see the best of Rooney if he plays behind someone, which would have to be Marshall. Timing, orchestrating play a little bit, linking the midfield and the forwards, and getting into the box late is where Rooney is more of a threat these days, rather than running the line. In terms of a prediction, low scoring affair, probably. Both defences are pretty solid. I'm probably going to go for a 1-1 draw. Yeah, sitting on the fence. I'm going to call a draw on that one. So that takes me to the end of this week's review. I've taken you through all 10 matches. I think Devo might be putting an article up to run through some players to pick out from the games. But that's it for now. I wish you best of luck with all your bets. And hopefully it'll be a good weekend. Plenty of goals, plenty of points, and I'll see you next time. Okay, thanks for joining us. Bye from everyone at Backers.